What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Master Crafted. Today we got an extra bro here to host today. John, welcome on. How you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. It's glad to be back.
Yeah, it has been a minute, but you are here. You're going to be telling us all about how you would deal with some of these meta menaces and some of the winners from this past weekend and your thoughts on how Tau plays into them. Phil, who are we looking at? Who's been doing good this week? Who would have thought? Who is it?
It's Death Guard. It's a problem. We've seen other codexes come out. We have a 55% win rate, which overall doesn't spark any kind of crazy things, because when we saw Ynnari come out, they were above 60. But we have 17 X and O, X and 1s, and 5 event wins. And I can confidently say, as one of the individuals that got an event win, but it was just a little RTT, it is oppressive. Death Guard has very few bad matchups, and the good matchups, they just are awful. And the 2 detachments that did the best, Champions of Contagion, which is what I ran, and then Virulent Vectorium, which is the OG detachment from the Index. So both of those, very, very good. No surprises to see them at the top of the meta. I already said that we were going to see a player spike, and we have 69 players playing Death Guard right now. Not a surprise.
Yeah, they definitely did very well on the actual true opening weekend release of the Codex. And no surprise, right behind them, we got Imperial Knights still stomping their way to victory. 55% win rate, 14 X and O's, and 4 event wins. That is a lot of wins for those 2 factions alone. In fact, I don't think there was anything with even 3 event wins other than those 2 armies. They were dominant this weekend.
Yeah. John, any
really
thoughts
surprising.
for Imperial Knights?
No, I mean, honestly, I'm just surprised. I guess it's just the metagame shifting to favor. I guess the metagame right now, it seems to me, and I'll take your guys' word for it, but it seems to me is elite MSU is kind of where we're at. Not a lot of people bringing a ton of damage, more so I don't know, 8. It just reminds me of people who run 6 3-man units of 8 bound plus a couple one big damage piece. I'm just thinking of the forge feed spam sort of a deal. But so unsurprising to see Imperial Knights have success there. And then Death Guard, just who would have thought, just subtract 1 inch from your movement and then just get unlimited damage within 12 inches, and turns out that's a good army.
Yeah, it definitely is very strong, and hopefully they won't go unadjusted. I'd say, at least all I want to see at a minimum is Death Shroud Terminators losing the 6-inch rapid and Blight Launchers going up. Those 2 small changes are all I want to see in the near future. Other than that, I think they're still just going to be oppressive. General points increases would not hurt my feelings, but I don't know when we'll be seeing those. So.
While we're ranting, don't mean to alienate any of the audience here, but Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights are dumb armies. Can we just get rid of them? Respectfully. Those are dumb, and seeing them at the top makes me sad, honestly, because it's not when you're playing against Imperial Knights, either you're an army that passes the stat check, or you're absolutely fighting for your life while they're just moving shit directly at you. It's not like an interesting play pattern that kind of, or back and forth really. To me, it just feels like a 40k at its worst. Not gonna lie.
I do think it is very interesting. We were talking, I think, a little bit before we went live, though. The ebb and flow of how well Knights do is based on how much the game is either a tank skew in general, or how much people are playing MSU. Because as soon as people start playing MSU, Knights get stronger because they can still deal with it, but they're anti-meta just innately. And so I think that's what we're seeing right now is Imperial Knights have been doing solid for a while, but they are doing very well with everything that's kind of been rising to the top, being kind of the opposite of what it takes to deal with them.
Yeah, Emperor's Children's a good example.
I think I'm in the same boat as you, John. I don't want 12 of the same data sheet and then just run that over and over again, or 6x6, whatever the combination is, maybe a big knight in there. That does not interest me at all. So that, for me, it definitely pushes me away from ever running anything like that. There was a point where I had maybe a couple ally mini knights. My Death Guard used to have a couple little knights that I would ally in. That was okay. I was all right with that. But I definitely don't necessarily feel a strong desire to run Imperial Knights or Chaos Knights as their own factions for me.
So they're disbanding them. 11th edition. They're done.
I think we could just rotate them out, dude. Just Send them to Legends.
I have a feeling that will never fly, unfortunately for you, John.
Dang it.
I know it is a big sad day when the big boys are not leaving town, but maybe hopefully like they almost need like some other version that's just smaller. Like for Imperial Knights, like if it just got folded into the Imperial Agents book, I think that would actually be like the best way to handle it. You have small units, you have big knights, like it actually now fully functions as an entire codex if they're just smashed together and you can still take them all as allies. Like I think that would actually be a way to go about it, that like no one's just running all the same data sheets. On the other hand, I don't know what you do with Chaos Knights. Do you lump them in with demons at that point and they're just their own ally codex now? But
make it like a rule of 3 thing where you have to like commit to some sort of mixed arms, or you can run like 6 baby knights and 2 big knights, make it a lot easier to balance out the big knights, make them a little better, I don't know. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. I think we just need bigger knights. We just need a couple 2,000 point knights. Just you have one model, that's your army, and you just go, can you bring it down? It's big enough, it stands on 2 objectives at once, like it's just a stat check all by itself.
What's that for? I don't need to screen.
Oh, man. All right, back to it. Back to the win rates. We have some more hype from more melee armies. Space Wolves and Emperor's Children both come in with a strong 54% this weekend. Space Wolves with 4 X&Os and no wins. And Emperor's Children, 9 X&Os, 1 win. And Phil, what are they rocking when it comes to those detachments? What's been winning?
Well, Coterie, it's pretty straightforward. Everyone's running Coterie. It's what the best detachment is. It's where you got your event win. You have 2 X&Os that run Peerless. I am confident in saying it's not even close. Matt will talk my ear off about Mercurial and say that there is value there for those that want to use a couple extra brain cells. But I understand why Coterie is so good. That army trades incredibly well because it has the movement to get after the target it needs to get to. But the problem is Emperor's Children runs into an army like Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, and they just can't. They physically cannot kill enough little knights to make a difference. I've watched that matchup multiple times. They just fall flat on their face. Now, the Space Wolf one is rather interesting because I think we're going to see this grow and grow because everyone's getting very excited about their new Space Wolf toys. And they're trying to play the army now before the new rules drop. But it's Champions of Russ, which is where the majority of players are. And then Stormlance, which is just your generic Space Marines are good. Give them advance and charge, especially with your combat units. They're still just as solid. So no surprises here, and we're going to see that number rise and rise, especially with Space Wolves for number of players.
Nice to see that on the rise for sure. I know a lot of people are like, I've heard, I think, more mixed reviews than anything about the Space Wolves one. I know people who are like ecstatic and people who are in the dumps. Like with World Eaters, everybody was just dooming on it for some reason. But at least Space Wolves, there's some fans and some haters. So, we'll see where that actually ends up and how people like it once it's on the board. But definitely excited to be reviewing that in the near future. And then up next, one of John's favorites, we got Chaos Knights, also at 54%. 8 X&Os, 8 X&1s, and 1 event win. Doing just fine, running a bunch of models. I mean, it's the same old same here.
Yeah, just when you thought it couldn't get any dumber, they just gave them all D6 blast indirect.
Hey, somebody's got to be good into Eldar,
Let's
baby.
get more brain dead with an army. How about that?
Let's give all those shots sustained, too, into that one target. That sounds real nice.
Vomit.
All right. Chaos Demons up next, though, in a surprising turn. They had 16 X&O X&1s with a 54% win rate. 8 of those were Demonic Incursion, people going back to the index to find some love and their only event win, while Shadow Legion only put up 6 X&O X&1s with 15 additional players compared to how many people played Demonic Incursion. That is interesting, Phil. We gave Shadow Legion a lot of hype at the start of this newest kind of like balanced data slate.
I still think it's very, very good. I think people are moving back to Demonic Incursion for 2 specific reasons. 6-inch charge out of Deep Strike is very good. It allows you to play the game and force options that you normally would not have. Demonic Incursion also has the -1 to wound strat as well. And that makes a huge difference for a lot of the bigger demons that are in there. Or Great Unclean One with -1 to wound, kind of disgusting. Your Nurglings get better. All the kind of scoring pieces that you have get better. But these 2 detachments are still quality. They are still very, very good. And I would be just because we see this doesn't mean Shadow Legion isn't good. I've watched Shadow Legion played over and over again, and holy shit, does it score well. It, like, with the uppy down from the dogs, and then the ability to just pick units up for pretty much free because you're going to have your Chaos Lord do it. Like, I really like this detachment. Both of them.
Yeah, very, very good still indeed. And up next is Yanid. Old Eldari, still doing just fine. 54% overall, and Devoted to Iniad having 61%, and both event wins out of 28 players. Still just good. Can't really say much more.
I'll be dancing when they finally touch Lethal Intent. Because it's gonna get touched. I pray. I can't believe that GW would miss that. I don't think they will. But yeah, we just need it to be more interactive and fun experience to play into that army. That's, I think, the ask.
Yeah, I feel like that's actually kind of the crazy thing right now is we're getting a lot of like super, super strong melee armies that are all getting released and some very strong shooting armies released. But Eldar is just still in the way of any of those stronger shooting armies really being able to dominate. You know, Thousand Suns on the way. If Ynnari isn't changed, I think Ynnari are still just going to be like, all right, cool. You mean nothing to me. You know, like, but we'll see. And speaking of Thousand Suns, they are up next. 53% win rate for X and O, X and ones, and no wins. And I think we'll just kind of start cruising through some of these where there's not as many wins to talk about. Sisters of Battle, 52%. Gene Stealer Cult, 52%. Necrons 51%, and that rounds out all of our positive going factions for this week, and no wins for any of those three. Oh no, Necrons did have one, and we're even talking about it. How dare I? How could I forget? And what was that detachment, Phil?
Well, it's a harken back to one that I thought I would never have to say again, but it is Star Shatter. And Star Shatter got an event win, and I will say they are still good. Star Shatter is still a good detachment. I don't know if I personally would enjoy running it, but it still has a lot of the tools that people were very upset about, us included. I was not a fan of some of the tools that Star Shatter had and how cheap they were, that they still have in this detachment, and it is still very, very good.
Yeah. All right. Up next at 49%, we got World Eaters. They are also brand new and released. This past weekend, they did see 7 X and O, X and 1s, and no wins. The only detachments to get any of those X and O, X and 1s were 6 Berserker Warband players and a single Demonkin player. Dortrak didn't get it done. Vessels didn't get it done. And there was no Icon detachment getting any dubs this weekend. No Cultists taking the lead, dude. What the hell?
Unbelievable. I really
The
am
Demonkin
surprised.
one is the best. It's the best detachment.
I agree, dude. I almost bought a World Eaters army because I've been playing against my brother, and he's just like sending me Facebook listings, marketplace listings of people being like, I hate this army now. This army's dead to me. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, Demonkin is spicy meatball. Seriously, Demonkin is sick. Triple Forge Fiend is sick. Scarbrand is sick. I can't imagine, like, I think they're going to get away. I don't think they're going to make any changes to the letter strat, and I think it's a great detachment because I think really good players are going to have consistent success with it, but it's not going to be an easy army to play. And my brother, he's gone to a few GTs. He's like mostly gone like 3-3, a couple 4-2s here and there. But I think he's got a really good chance to just go 5-1 at the Bay Area Open with this because nobody's going to know what's going on. Like, people are going to be like, what the hell is this? What do you mean you could put the blood letters wherever you want? What do you mean? Like, yeah, just like 9 inches, like I could just be in wherever I want, free primary, or I just take your home. Like, it is gross.
How
Yeah,
many
you have to be
blood letters is he going to run?
He's only running 20. Yeah, he's running 20.
I think that's just fine. Just enough to
He's
throw
got the
in
Juglord unit. I think the Juglord unit is solid. 20, he thinks 20's good enough.
Okay. I agree. It's the best detachment by far. And it's got so many tools in there. Good lord, do I want to run it so bad.
That is fair. Up next, classical Astra Militarum. When was the last time they were above 50%? You know what I'm saying?
At least you're sniffing it.
I shouldn't use such words when a Tau player is
Astra Militarum 48% is like Space Marines 46%. Come on. You got like 2/3 of your player base is like barely knows how to play 40k, okay? Sorry guys, respectfully.
No, it's fine. It's
John's
fine.
just bashing everyone today. Chaos Knights, Imperial Knights, Astra Militarum.
You all can
no
get the
one's
smoke.
safe.
You all can get the smoke.
We'll dive all into the smoke when we get to Tau for sure. Like, we want to hear all about it.
Oh my gosh.
I have tried very hard not to go on that same rant, and I'm glad you brought it up a little bit for me. Guard can definitely win some stuff, but
Yeah.
it just it takes a little bit different play style, I think, than what we're seeing a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
It combined 3 of the X&Os, Hammer 4 of the X&Os, and Recon with 1 of the other X&Os out of its 2 players.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for that guy.
Doing
Or
just
girl.
fine. CSM, though, 2 event wins and a 48% win rate. Not too shabby, and 8 X&Os as well. Can't complain about that. If I was a betting man, is there any chance that this is just creations of bile as we go look at it?
Zero event wins for creations of bile.
Well, then what took the dubs, Phil?
The 2 event wins were Soulforged Warpack, which is a list that we're going to talk about, and then Fellhammer Siege Host, which I had to look up because I'm like, what? Siege Host? Didn't realize that was a detachment or a thing. So we had to look up both those things. So we're going to be talking about the Soulforged Warpack because that list is a monster of a stat check. And seeing that on the board across from me would cause me a little bit of anxiety in the sense of how do I pick all of these things up. But yeah, Renegade Raiders still has quite a few players. Creation of the Bile still has quite a few players, but they didn't manage to get the event win.
Yep. Yeah, doing well. Up next, we got Custodes, and they had 10 X&O, X&1s, no event wins, but 5 of those were Lions of the Emperor. No surprise there. They were doing a majority of the work. AdMech, 47% win rate for AdMech. Let's go.
Clap it up for AdMech.
God damn.
How many players? Like 7 players or 12 or something?
17. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. They did just fine, and they were playing Hallowscreed Battleclade.
Really?
That's another one we might have to look up on what the hell that does, because I couldn't tell you.
That's the index detachment.
Okay.
No. That is it? Hallowscreed?
Yeah.
I thought that was Grotmus.
Oh, Grotmus, yes. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
All right. Moving on down. Blood Angels with 47% win rate. 1 event win. Running, let's see here. Angelic. Nope, not Angelic. Oh, God. Where'd it go? Liberator Assault Group.
So I looked at this list. It's 3x6 of the sword bros. No. The generic sword
Blade
shield
Guard
bros.
vets.
Blade Guard vets. He's got 3x6 of them. And I'm like,
dude, people have been really on. I've been hearing a lot of Marine players talk about 3 Blade Guard vets. I'm like, guys, just take 5 company hero squads. Just like literally take everyone that you possibly can. I can't imagine. I'm genuinely surprised that I don't see like 3 by company heroes. Honestly, with like characters,
they're pretty damn good.
Marnius in one, Uriel in another,
and then there's another random character who has no, not even. There's like, I mean, you could do a captain, but there's another character that Colin K's running. I look at his data sheet. He's got like bananas rules. Like he's got crazy. He's got like a 2d6 Dev Wound Flamer. Like he
Tigerius?
Tigerius. He that guy kind of slaps. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? What? And like Marine players are like, oh, we don't have any good. Marines suck. You guys could get it too. I'm looking at you, Marine players.
Man, this is great. Moving on down, Grey Knights, only 3 X&O X&Ns and a 46% win rate. Space Marines right there with them at 46% as well. They had 7 X&O X&1s and 1 event win, which they got with Vanguard. I think we are talking about that as well. And then the only other faction to get a win was Dark Angels, all the way down at 39%. But they got a win with Unforgiven Task Force. And I don't know what that one does either. This is the week of some random shit working, if you were to ask me. But that's what you want to see, right?
Respectable. No, good for that guy. I can respect that Space Marine player.
We'll cruise through the others. Tyranids 46%, Votan 45%, Orcs only 44% win rate and 60 players. They only had 4 X&O X&1s this week, each of them from a different attachment: Green Tide, DACA, Tactical, and Warhorde getting 1 each. That is somewhat of a surprise, especially as a man who just bought a new Orc army. John, how do you feel about that?
I have no semblance, or understanding of how Orc plays in the meta. I don't know their matchups. I don't know anything about them because it's such a departure for me. I'm probably going to start with Warhorde, to be honest, because a Tactical Brigade just doesn't feel super dynamic to me. I do love the big mechs with the shock attack guns and the tank busters, but it seems like you're playing kind of more of a static positional game with Tactical Brigade, and when you lose, it's from positioning and or your damage just falling off a cliff. You're kind of relying on some pretty swingy data sheets there, in my experience, with some amount of rerolls, but not a lot of reliability. So doesn't I could see myself playing that at some point, but it doesn't like sort of appeal to me. But what does appeal to me is like 2 units of 20 boys and 2 battle wagons with gas, and just being like, that one gets crit 5s, and now that one gets crit 5s. Because I want to do some lethal and sustain 5s. I want to get on that shit.
Yeah, there's been some of that going around, and it seems pretty damn good. So I don't blame you for wanting to hop on that train.
Yeah, it does.
And right below him, your classic, what you call home, Tau.
Oh boy. I got to give it to all of the Tau players who've continued to play Tau over the last 2 or 3 months. You are the reason we're about to get buffed, so thank you. I just know that as I've seen alongside with you, all of these codexes come out. Guard, World Eaters. What was the most recent one? I can't remember. Emperor's Children. Yeah, Eldar, just all these armies coming out with busted rules that just make Tau literally look like they got made in a different edition, which they did, by the way. They definitely made that codex in 9th, because you could tell these codexes got made when Double Oath and Marneus existed. They're catering to that power level of 40k, whereas we were catering to, like, got to get rid of the Tetras, man, because that's just too many rerolls. Too many rerolls, guys. Meanwhile, they've got, like, everything's got a CP, a -1 CP aura. Like, everything's got rerolls, like, stuff that we get in our detachments for, like, a round that we can use a conditional strat on. They just get baked into, like, cheap data sheets. All the anti-elite can punch up into our tanks. None of our anti-tank punches up into their tanks. So, just know, Tau players, like, I don't know if the update, the buffs that are coming, which they are going to be enough. Just know that you guys all contributed. So thank you.
Doing the work.
Yeah, doing the Lord's work. Because I haven't been playing Tau. RMO was my last. I was like, you know what? I was like not super looking forward to playing that army at RMO. That's why I brought the planes.
You still went 5-1, dude.
Yeah, I brought the planes because I was just like, screw it. We're just having fun. Like, I'm gonna make a guess. Like, I'm gonna take an educated guess here and hope I play a bunch of Marines, and I did. So it worked out okay. Hopefully we'll get a little bump soon.
Yeah. After the bump, we'll have to get a rematch.
Yeah, I've been looking at those railgun hammerheads, man. I've been like, who would really like this? Is Lane.
I might, dude.
Lane's, your tank commanders without the blank save.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be
spicy.
Just for you. I'll bring him just for you.
Okay, well, I'll stay hidden until they come out and shoot Bulgrin, and then we'll deal with them then. But we'll wrap this list up so we can do some list breakdowns. Deathwatch, only 41%, not a single X and O, X and 1 for their 10 players. Imperial Agents, still just struggling along, but hey, they did better than Drukhari or Black Templars this weekend at 38%, Drukhari with 34%, and Templars with 27%.
Ooh.
Oh, that is right.
Yikes. How many players?
11.
They're paying for their sins of like a year and a half ago. Like,
back
so
when Black
hard.
Tide was the way to go.
Not even Black Tide, dude. It was just like the hull spam with the, irons, even just like any of the index detachments. Not index. Regular Space Marine detachments.
Yeah. Well, maybe next week they'll do a little better. But until then, let's go ahead and talk about some lists. Phil, who are we talking about first?
All right, so we're going to start out with Gabriel Nixon. The Death Guard has been the dominant one in the meta. And it's only fair that we talk about a list so you guys can be prepared in terms of what you're going to see, because I would love to say that Death Guard is not going to be something you're going to see, but that would be a lie. You are going to see it everywhere. You are going to have to know how to play into it. You're going to have to know the tips and tricks in terms of what you need to do, because if you don't have a plan for Death Guard does have a plan for you, and it's called having better data sheets, rules, abilities, stratagems, and enhancements than you do. So, gotta find a plan. So, Gabriel Nixon, he's running Violent Victorium, which is the index attachment. It is the army-wide sticky, which is fantastic. He's running Double Biologus, which give the Plague Marines 5-up crits. A Demon Prince, which you don't leave home without. Foul Blight Spawn, which is a fights first once per game now, and then you can't start or end an advanced move within 9 of the Foul Blight Spawn, which is nuts. A Lord of Contagion, and Malignant Playcaster, which also gives his unit sustain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Plague Marines, 1 10-man, and all the rest are 5s. Fully kitted out with Plague Weapons, and Spewers, and Plasma Guns, and Blight Launchers. Plague Marines are good. They are just really, really solid. And each one of these units is either going to have 5 up crits, because the Biologist Putrefier and 12 Blight Spawn will probably be in the 10-man, and then a Plaguecaster, and then another Biologist will be in 2 of the 5-mans. So they're just kind of obnoxious. Chaos Rhinos, which are incredible, because now you're getting full rerolls to wound on the turn that those Plague Marines get out, which is awesome. 2 Death Shroud Terminators, one of those will have Lord of Contagion. Triple Fetid Bloat Drone with Blight Launcher. I would love to say these are balanced. They are not. They are just cracked. And then 2 squads of 10 Poxwalkers. This is very close to what you'll see. The problem is everything in Death Guard is pretty good right now. So, like, there's not even a Lord of Virulence in here, and I would love to see one, but everything else is just so good. Yeah, it's a really solid list.
Yeah, it's just spamming 3 of the best data sheets and throwing the good characters in them. Plague Marines, Death Shroud Terminators, and Fetid Bloat Drones with launchers. You just spam in those data sheets, take some characters, you're looking pretty solid.
It's really good.
Yeah. So if you were to suggest on how to maybe play into a list like this and Death Guard as a whole, John, how would you do it with your army?
Yeah, so what I would do is I would say to your opponent, hey, look over there. And then I would grab his army and throw it in the trash. Okay, that would be my the first thing that I would do for a guaranteed win there. Maybe a potential red guard, let me say. But yeah, I'm thinking about how I would play this, like my Tau army right now. And I just have a really hard time thinking that this works out well. Because you either do one of 2 things, in my mind. Either you put dudes on like the tips of objectives in a lone op aura and you say, okay, I'm going to get a 15 on primary turn 1. But the Death Guard army just advances turn 1 and then hits the midfield objectives turn 2. And then just walks into your home objective after that. Or you could aggressively screen, which is also not really a thing because they have 20 Poxwalkers and incredible overwatches all over the place, and our damage isn't super efficient. So into them. So because of the rhinos as well, just dudes and rhinos is really strong. So I would have to play this matchup multiple times to find the win condition here. And I think I would have to build a list specifically to beat Death Guard to beat this list. I don't think you could come with like a take all comers list. I think you need like a very specific tailored list to beat this. And I don't think you can build one that would consistently win. I think you can build one that has a line, like a line that it can win. But I don't think this is like, I think this is about as bad of a matchup for Tau as it gets.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. It is problematic to deal with. Phil,
put your Custodes hat on, Phil.
Yeah.
How do you handle this?
Yeah, so Virulent is really tough because they have a -1 damage strat in combat, which makes my Wardens really, really sad. Especially at toughness 6, even though I'd be wounding them on 2s, which is quite nice. But if they, -1 damage, even though I'm wounding you on 2s, there's a possibility I don't even pick up the full unit, which would hurt quite a bit. So what needs to happen is you need to pop these rhinos early. That's like priority number 1. If it was me, right? I run a couple Gladiuses and a few of the Custodes lists that I have, and I need to pick them up, and I need to get the Plague Marines out early, because the last thing I need to have is like a unit of 10 Plague Marines or even the 5-mans with Malignant Plaguecaster getting out and then getting full rerolls to wound into my Warden squads, because then it forces me into a position where I have to pop my Feel No Pain in the shooting, and then they charge me, and heavy plague weapons are really tough when they have an additional AP, and they go into combat, which is not what I want. So what needs to happen is those rhinos need to die. Now, the one plus side that we have is this list isn't running any chaos spawn, and its only scoring units are the units that it also wants to do to get into combat. So if I can pick up those Poxwalkers, which is relatively reasonable, then I can actually force you to put Plague Marines out. Now, the thing is, I have to kill enough Plague Marines that by like the mid to late game, you don't have enough mobility to actually get around the board, which is the whole thing. So it's got to be, I can't give up too many assets early, because if that happens by the end of the game, I'm not able to catch up. But I do need to kill enough assets where you are giving me rhinos with Plague Marines, or, let's say you put the Demon Prince out there because he's got a lone op. Like, I'll try to go into him, but he is toughness 12, which is kind of obnoxious. But that's what definitely needs to happen. You have to, pick up everything that gets put out, and you got to get those Plague Marines actually doing actions, and those Rhinos doing actions, so they're not getting full rerolls to wound on you, which would suck.
What about you, Lane?
I mean, in general, it's just trying to throw trash out for them to have to deal with in the open, and then just hoping I have enough flat damage 3 that is going to pick up Marines and get enough of them off the board, similar to what Phil was saying, that, you know, hopefully in the resource war, I am able to bait them out, kill enough of their damage that I can just go kind of park tanks, and hopefully, like, late game, a lot of the times, I'm just trying to, like, I get you down to a couple Marines, I'm just charging a tank in there, so you can't fall back and do anything. My tank can still shoot around the board with its blast weapons as needed, but we're just locked in. Hopefully I'm sitting on the objective in this scenario, and everything else of mine is trying to score. The biggest problem, though, is still just Death Shroud Terminators. I've got to get those baited out in a way that does not absolutely screw me and tie up my tanks when I don't need you to. I need to be able to put a full round of shooting into them with a couple of tanks, generally. Regular Marines aren't terribly problematic. I have to avoid those Overwatches. Having the Bulgrin to just run out and be like, okay, cool, you Overwatched, you killed like 2 of them. That's still fine. I'm still a screen. Is nice, but yeah, they are very problematic. It's just trying to kill enough of it fast enough is generally my struggle, and having to bait them out to make that possible is definitely the line that I have to play.
Grant me Sticky in my hour of need. I would approve. That is a good list name. So Gabriel, yes, running Death Guard is good. Yes, that army list name is good. So we appreciate it. But we're going to move right on to the next one. We're going to go to Star Shatter now. Joe Robertson, Grampian Gaming, Guild GT, running Star Shatter. It's a list that we haven't seen in a while. And overall, I think it's got some very interesting points to it. So Hexmark, Technomancer, Silent King. I don't think you ever run a Star Shatter without Silent King. He's just too good in that detachment because he is a vehicle. Canoptic Reanimator, Spiders, a big brick of 6-man Wraiths, a Cryptothals for your scoring, 1-2 Doomsday Arcs, a squad of Flayed Ones for more scoring, more screens, 2x1 Locust Destroyers, and then a Tesseract Vault. That's a very interesting end to that list. A Tesseract Vault, I can't remember the last time I saw one on the table.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I mean, it just goes fully into the toughness skew, right? Like, it's presenting 2 different skews. It's got the Wraith Brick and the Silent King. I'm guessing the Chrono Impedance, that's the is that -1 damage?
Yes.
The enhancement? Yeah. And then also the Tesseract Vault. Yeah, again, like, I don't feel really good about Tao's chances into this. I think maybe 18 Rampagers could deal with this, like, in an effective way, because of, like, the OC dump when the Tesseract Vault inevitably steps on a midfield objective. But I think if the Necrons player just steps everything out at the same time, it's a really bad time for the Tau player. So, I don't know. I haven't found Necrons to be a favorable matchup for Tau in recent history, especially with these Wraith Bricks coming back. Again, I would have to defer to, like, I need to actually play this matchup before I can say whether or not Tau has what it needs. But I would say that one thing that we do have is, like, the OC dumps to be able to just say, okay, sure, you can have your race on the objective. I'm just going to put a bunch of crew there, or I'm going to put a bunch of Vespid and I'll deal with everything else. And the ability to influence my primary doesn't seem strong, so I think there's a world where there's a real game here for Tau.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I would have to play a very similar style. I'm just trying to stage Guardsmen to go up and deny primary whenever I can, and try to avoid, it doesn't seem like there's any super bad Overwatches that are really going to, catch me out in this list, so that's nice. But yeah, just trying to maintain board control and then pick my fights, make sure I'm stacking my AP, dealing with 1 or 2 tough targets as I can, and then just trying to keep that board pressure up, and the control, I think, is the way to try to deal with a list like this for me.
Yeah, you guys have to use a couple brain cells for yours. Unfortunately, mine is pretty straightforward. Custodes at +1 to wound. At strength 7, it means I wound almost everything on force. That's pretty nice. Caladius are good into monsters and vehicles because it gets lethal hits. So Custodes as a whole really deal well with Necrons. Death Guard, we already talked about it. They're just suppressive. They're just good. I could run a lot of different things and still be effective. Gene Stealer Cult, I've played this matchup multiple times. They run out of scoring units way before I do. and it's to the point that you're doing actions with Doomsday Arcs, and like I have your Silent King tied up, and it's just like tough upon tough. So I would say all 3 of my matchups right now that I'm running consistently. I mean, I am running Deathwatch, but that I'm running consistently would just take this list apart, unfortunately.
Yeah, I do feel like this is the one that's probably the least worrying out of the ones we have brought up, as far as like how hard I feel like it would be to deal with it. Up next, what do we have? Is it the Ultramarines Vanguard?
It is.
Yeah. If only we knew anybody who ran something like this.
Yeah, I mean, nothing I hate more than seeing Marneus Calguard and Ultramarines list. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I mean, at least there's no Gilliman, but I almost think this list is an improvement in the matchup versus Tau, because one of the major win conditions is kind of like what you said about Necrons, Phil, is killing all their scoring and playing like a trading game. But in this case, it not only has the scoring, but it also has like 4 units here that can step out at once, that can kind of also just push for a very nice all-in turn with the double Vindicator, Dev Sense, and Calgar Brick. If you can present all those 4 problems late game, after you've traded all your scoring and not gone down on the scoreboard, I can see this being a pretty tough matchup for Tau for that reason. JPI are terrible for us just because of the fly keyword, the ability to jump over our screens, hit our midfield objectives. Generally, being within 24 is pretty easy to hit our staging or hit our natural expansion. Really, anything that we're putting on an objective, any 10-man just gets rinsed by the JPI. I am really curious about this 10-man Assault Intercessor squad, though. I don't see that very often. That must be for the captain. So he gets, is it wound rerolls on objectives? Is that it?
Yes,
yeah.
probably.
Yep, Assault Intercessors do get the reroll wounds on objectives. A 10-man is definitely odd. I assume that's something that's, depending on the matchup, either just defensively saying, hey, come try to fight me, on your natural, or is going to deny at some point and is going to pick some shit up.
It's the Infiltrate squad. That makes a lot more sense. Because I was like, they don't have Advanced in Charge in here, so what is he doing with these guys? But they're an aggressive infiltrating unit, I see.
Yeah, that is a solid primary denial piece for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it does have enough OC to do those things. My only concern with that unit as a whole is it's still 10 Space Marine bodies. Like 3-up save, Vanguard, they're going to be -1 to hit if they're outside of whatever it is, 12 inches. Is that enough to keep 10 Space Marines alive? I don't think so. Now, you can't put out too much, because if you put too much out to kill the Assault Intercessors, then the Dev Sens come in, then the Vindicators come in, and they just pick up whatever's remaining. One of the things I don't like about Space Marines right now is because, like, if you're running Space Marines and you're not taking Marneus Calgar, you're just wrong, right? Like, if you're gonna run anything that is, if you're running Ultramarines, you're gonna run Marneus, and we have seen it in the past with lists where it's like, oh, if you're not running this one unit, you are actually just like handicapping yourself significantly. And that's Marneus Calgar right now, right? Like, if you're gonna run Space Marines and Ultramarines, you're gonna run Marneus, and it's just too good, because there's games where I've gotten to the end of it, my opponent has 8 CP because they have Marneus, and even though they're spending every round, it doesn't matter because they have Marneus.
I almost think that if they change Marneus and Gilliman and make them like fringe okay, that it might just like kill the armor. Like, is that a hot take?
No.
Like, genuinely, because I look at this list and I'm like, all right, now if this list doesn't have the CP engine to just spam every strat that they possibly want whenever they want it, is it actually that good? Because like on paper, it doesn't look that impressive to me.
It's Space Marine bodies. It's 3-up Space Marine bodies with no invols. Yeah. They die to everything. And if you can't armor contempt every round, even in the shooting phase and the fight phase, and still have CP left over, do they live?
No. Everything in the game is built to murder Space Marines right now.
Yeah, I mean, they do at least acknowledge that. The army name is MSU Power. It does seem like, that is the point of this list, is to just really try to trade early, as we've talked about with some of our other matchups previously. And you're just trying to keep throwing things at your opponent. You throw Vindicators. It just seems like an MSU list that's buying enough time to, jam Vindicators into their lines and things like that, and just really try to pack 2,000 points into the midboard and just, say deal with me. They are still 3-1 Marines, but in general, if they are getting off the damage they need to and doing it strategic enough, Centurions going unchecked because they're sitting behind a front line as heavy as what you could throw out in this list. If they're picking up a unit a turn, I don't know. They were doing something right.
100%.
All right, our last list. It's our underdog of the week. Daniel Digimini. I'm butchering that.
The Gemini?
He's running Soulforge Warp Pack, Chaos Space Marines. I like that name. So really solid. We got Cypher, and then we also have Lane and I's probably favorite model in 40k, Vastor. He finds his way into this list. Double Warpsmith, Cultist Mob, Chaos Bikers, double Chaos Predator Destructors, and then 3 Forge Fiends, 3 Mauler Fiends, and double Venom Crawler. That is, as I alluded to before, that is a stat check and a half.
Yeah, Tao would hate seeing this. I genuinely think, Crude Hunting Pack has the best chance to win. You don't even try to pass the damage check. All of this stuff having +1 to wound is grotesque. I think most of it has 5-up invulns, if I'm not mistaken. Which is, that's the break point for Tao, is not having invuln and being less efficient in damage. It's if we had 5-up invulns and they had better damage, it'd be okay, now we're playing 40k. But having the invuln and the damage that hits us more efficiently, they'll be winning us on 3s with all the Forge Fiends. We're winning their Forge Fiends on 5s. With Ion Hammerheads, it's just, you are at a severe disadvantage. I would just flood the board with bodies. If this became popular, I'd just be alright, cool. Crude Hunting Pack, 80 Crude, 18 Rampagers. What's up?
Yeah, this is almost mini Knights. Really.
It is, yeah. It's mini Knights with a little just extra spice. This guy definitely has 2 Knights armies in his closet, 100%.
That is fair.
It's the cutest thing you've ever heard.
It's nothing.
It's +1 strength for demon vehicles within 6, which was interesting. I was okay, +1 strength. Forge Fiends probably like that. Sure, they're strength 10 now, right? After they get the +1. And then Reorder Reality, which is any unit within 18 that targets Vastor, their ranged weapons get hazardous.
So, fun fact, I was playing at a GT, and I was 3-2. It was my 4-2 game. And I think my opponent played this wrong, to be fair. I didn't look into it. I think I was shooting him from definitely more than 18, and I was taking a bunch of hazardous. But I straight up almost lost this game because I took probably 20 mortal wounds from Vastor. I am not kidding. Because think about it. You shoot an Ion Hammerhead. It's the Ion gun itself, plus the 2 one-shot weapons, plus the 2 burst cannons, and then you shoot you're shooting other cute stuff. Everything that has a gun drone takes an extra hazardous test, right? And I'm just trying to kill this guy that's on 2 wounds. I'm I'm using all the gun drones, and I'm 6 damage to a crisis unit. Sick. I was this is a sick joke. I'm about to lose to Vastor. I won by 3. It was.
It is any unit within 18 that shoots at him is the rule.
Any unit, yeah.
Everything that's hazardous.
Man, it's not even just pick one. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Thank God we have range that's more than 18. God damn. Oof.
What do you guys think about this? What are your chances, Lane?
Thank God I have lethals. That's
true.
Legitimately, just another one of the reasons.
Could you imagine lethals for 5 turns straight? That's crazy.
It would be crazy, dude.
Yeah, that would be so nuts. I would love that.
It would be great. And hey, I got it when the index came out, dude. I had to stand still originally to get it, but I did have lethals from the get-go. So
I'm upset.
I think
honestly, I do think he would struggle into killing Dorns for the most part. Still doesn't have. +1 to wound is still helpful as long as I'm not picking any fights too closely, though, and playing sightlines to only take on one thing at a time. I should be able to chew through it and tie up the rest.
Those
crazy to me how the Forge Fiends. Sorry, go ahead, Phil. No, I was just looking at the points values. That these are 180.
Yeah,
not really. I'll just avoid. They're the only strength 12 in the army. I'll just make sure I don't peek anywhere that they can hit me. And once they do, I'll just turn around and and delete them. It's only 2 destructors. And even then, I've got smoke and other shit. Like, I don't know. In my experience, I haven't had to worry about destructors too much. +1 to wound helps, but it's only 3 las cannons.
I think Custodes probably get dumpstered by this.
That's a lot of damage 3.
Triple
A lot of
forge
damage 3
fiend,
with
+1 to
sustained.
wound. Yeah. Triple forge fiend, +1 to wound with sustained. And then you just like shoot my warden bricks, and I have to pop the fort, feel no pain, and then you charge these stupid Mauler fiends in, or the predator destructors shoot, and it's just like I just die. My bricks just die. They vaporize. And there is nothing that you can do about it. Honestly, a good player with this list probably just dumpsters Custodes, honestly. Maybe that's why he's running it. Maybe he has a lot of Custodes in his meta. I'll have to look back and see who he played. Holy shit, that is terrifying.
He's got a Phil in his hometown, and he was like, no, never again. Lions aren't ever touching me.
I mean, this is a list to do it, for sure.
Yeah. It's good, dude. It's a good damage and stat check. It's tanky with a ton of damage. Can't complain.
Well, that is our last list, Lane.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll take it on home. Thank you, everybody, for coming and watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. John, thanks again for stopping by. It was always a pleasure to have you. Glad to, let people get the smoke when they deserve it. So we'll definitely have to have you back on next time. We feel like some of these groups are getting a little too cocky. You can bring them back down to earth. But do not forget, victory is a given. It's forged, and it's forged right here on Mastercrafted. We'll see y'all next time.